Okay, it is 9 a.m. So welcome guys, my name is Laura. If we haven't met before, I am going live for 30 days in this Facebook private Facebook group called Empowered Health and Fitness. And you are a part of it if you are tuning in. I would love for you to invite anyone that you think might benefit from content like this. We're gonna be doing workouts, we're gonna be doing recipes and kitchen cookups like we're doing today. We're gonna be doing nutrition lectures similar to what I did yesterday, which was ways to manage overeating and overdrinking. And I'm also gonna be having guest fitness professionals, guest speakers. Our first one's gonna be on Thursday. My neighbor and dear friend, Lena Kulhaney, is going to be hosting a restorative yoga class. So get ready for that. So before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about my history with food and diet and specifically cooking. So growing up, I grew up in an Italian household. So we ate a lot of meat, a lot of pasta, a lot of carbs, a lot of cheese, a lot of very, very tasty things. Of course, there were vegetables and there were salads, but from a young age, I always suffered digestive issues, food allergies, and that continued through into my college years. Now you go from your mom and your family cooking you meals up until you're 18 into college, and you're like, now I have to cook for myself, and I'm eating out of the cafeteria. And where I went to school, we had an abundance of all sorts of foods from all over the world, from Asian to Mexican to Italian to all the desserts in the world. I gained probably 15 or 20 pounds my freshman year in conjunction with really heavy strength training as a result of playing lacrosse and playing sports. And I mean, it was great. I love to eat. I love to enjoy my meals and my food, but I did not know how to cook for myself. And my food allergies exacerbated themselves, and I was essentially just not feeling my best. I felt chronically inflamed. I, again, was having digestive issues, couldn't go to the bathroom regularly, and I just didn't feel my best. This continued into my 20s when I moved to New York and I was living on my own. Of course, I was partying it up as well during that time. I was drinking a lot. I was binge drinking about 4 or 5 nights per week, using drugs as well at certain periods in my life or during that time. And that is around the time that I started feeling and noticing like, this isn't right. This isn't healthy. There needs to be a better way to live. I want to feel better digestively. I want to have more energy. I want to learn how to cook vegetables. That's not just salads, right? Because when most of us think veggies, we think, oh, we have to have a salad. So I really wanted to start nourishing my body. And so I started reading a lot. And it started just from fitness magazines, Women's Health, Fitness, Woman's Day, whatever magazines I could get my hands on. I just started reading about nutrition. And during that time, I learned about more of my food allergies, but it wasn't really until I became a trainer 7 years ago that I started to make some really big changes in my life. I ended up healing myself from leaky gut. My digestion got a lot better. I started sleeping better. I started nourishing my body in ways that I should have been doing most of my life. And I learned how to cook well and better for myself. So what I'm going to be showing you today has been a work in progress. It's not something that I just woke up one day and said, I know how to shop for myself. I know how to cook all the things. I know how to make things quick and efficient. I'm going to eat the healthiest and the best that there ever was. This has been a work in progress. So if I can give you some tips today that can put you on the road to just one little change today, one little change tomorrow, little changes amount to big outcomes. So that's all I want you to take away from today. I'm not asking you to make big, grandiose changes, but hopefully there's little nuggets that you can start to implement that are going to help you start to feel better. Because after all, if we start to make changes that are too stark from our regular lifestyle, they're not gonna stick, right? And how many of us, I know I have tried to make big instrumental changes in our lives, like I'm gonna start waking up at 4 and going to work out, and I'm gonna start eating salads 3 meals a day. Those big changes don't end up sticking because they are way too far off from what we are regularly used to. So let's see if we can find some ways to help you guys out with small little changes in diet. And I'm excited to get started with you guys. So I'm sitting down in a lower position, and I have you guys lower so that we can check out my fridge first, and then I'm gonna prop you guys up and we'll check out the rest of the kitchen. So let's get started. Okay. Also guys, if you have any questions, feel free to just put them in the chat box and I will scroll back at the end and answer any questions that you guys might have. Okay, so I'm gonna go in sort of order of protein, fats, and carbs, and then I'll kind of just do condiments and things like that. So in terms of protein, I actually went food shopping on Friday. Last week I broke one of my cardinal rules, which was getting back from vacation having nothing in the fridge. So last week I kind of lived off of whatever morsels I had in the fridge, and it was really hard work to try and eat healthy when I had nothing available to me except for tortillas and pasta, and I had some fish in the freezer. So I'm gonna start you off with some protein. I put my meats on the bottom shelf. I don't know if you guys can see, I put my meats on the bottom shelf because if anything ever leaks, you don't want it to leak from the top down into the rest of the other food in the fridge. Okay, so I put all of my proteins on the bottom shelf here, okay? So what I love is these sort of like, I guess you could call them cold cuts, but they're a little bit on the healthier side. They have no artificial flavors, 99% fat-free. So these are kind of turkey breast, chicken breast, and smoked ham. These are really good for quick snacks. I'll just pull out slices and start snacking on these. I'll dip them in like hummus or even like hot sauce with some tortilla wraps. So I like these as really quick go-to protein snacks. Now you're gonna get a whole slew of different types. You've got anything from Oscar Mayer to things that are organic, without carcinogens and nitrogens and things like that. One word on organic foods and cooking. So personally for me, I'm okay spending the majority of my money on more organic foods that are minimally processed. I just know that for me, that's where the majority of my money is going for, and that's okay with me. However, not everyone has the luxury of being able to spend more money on organic or less processed or all natural type foods. So I encourage you to just get your feet wet on getting things like proteins and vegetables, even if they're not necessarily organic. Just make sure that you wash your vegetables super well, and you know, slowly maybe you can start making way for more organic, all natural type foods by spending money in less areas, maybe like entertainment or alcohol or eating out, and putting it more towards whole foods. So most of my stuff is organic or all natural as much as it can be, but that is a separate episode in terms of reading nutrition labels and things like that. So these are great go-to snacks. For the week, I have ground turkey. I have another package of ground turkey because I'm gonna start cooking my dog food because he's spoiled. And then I have boneless, skinless turkey breasts. These are from Trader Joe's. These are awesome. I haven't been able to find them anywhere else. They're turkey breast cutlets. They cook up super quickly. I'll just make the whole package and leave them in a Tupperware. Excuse me. And then I have some chicken breasts, chicken tenders, chicken breasts already. So chicken does tend to be a little bit dry when you cook it. One tip for you guys, if you buy chicken breast with the skin on and then bake it and roast it, it's gonna come out a lot juicier. You can just discard the skin if you're watching your cholesterol and your saturated fat. But I like to actually steam my chicken in water or chicken broth so it actually makes it a little bit more tender. Okay, so that's a little bit of protein that I have there. I also have eggs in the fridge. I have a different brands. I've got this, the Land O'Lakes. These, if you ever want to splurge on eggs, these are the best eggs I've ever found. The yolks are like bright orange and bright yellow. It's insane. And then I have some more egg whites in here. I like to do one egg with a bunch of egg whites for omelets and post-workout meals. I also have a smaller thing of egg whites over there. So that is kind of what I have on the full protein side with no fat and no carbs in it. Here are a little bit more of like sort of the crossovers. So I have cashew cheese, okay, from Trader Joe's. So I'm dairy free. One of my allergies is dairy. I get really bad stomach aches and it's just not a good situation for anyone. So this one has fat, it has carbohydrates. Oh, and this one doesn't have any protein, but typically cheeses do have protein with more fat in them. So that's kind of like a crossover food that has protein, but also has higher content of fat and doesn't really have any carbs. Cheese, no carbs in there. Okay, so that's all I got on the protein front. In terms of carbs, I have these awesome flatbreads from Trader Joe's. Honestly, my boyfriend bought these and I like had one and I was like, I am hooked. Toast it, it tastes so good. It's like freshly made naan. I don't know if you've ever had naan before. It's like Indian bread. It's delicious. I love it. Okay, in terms of, so that's a more of a processed carb. That's a complex carb, okay? That's gonna take a little bit more time to digest through your system. We've got some simple carbohydrates. Ooh, my fridge is leaking water. We've got simple carbohydrates. So we've got raspberries. We've got blackberries. We've got blueberries. And we've got strawberries. Okay, so the deal with these simple carbohydrates is that, yes, they digest quickly in your system. However, they have a lot of water and they have a lot of fiber. So they actually don't spike your blood sugar as quickly as, say, like orange juice or cranberry juice or even like white rice, right? These have a ton of fiber, have a ton of water, and they're great for snacking if you are trying to cut back on snacking on like chips or popcorn or things that are a little bit more carb heavy. Okay, so other carbohydrates in the fridge are our vegetables. So I don't want to sit here and clean a whole head of lettuce, a whole head of spinach, cut it up, put it in a bag. I like these pre-made bags. So at Trader Joe's, they've got these Power Greens. I've got shredded kale, and I have an herb salad mix. So I really like shredded kale, shredded collard greens, spinach, even things like this. I'll just toss in a pan with a little bit of water or olive oil when I'm making like an omelet or chicken for lunch or fish. They cook up so quickly. Vegetables are definitely a cornerstone of my meals and my food. So this is one way that I learned to get more vegetables and more fiber into my diet. Good morning, Dennis. More vegetables and more fiber into my diet without just having to eat salads all the time, right? I don't want to eat salads in the middle of winter when I want like a warm, comforting soup, right? So, but adding a handful of this into soup, adding a handful of this into an omelet, adding a handful of this into even white or brown rice that you're cooking, it's going to wilt down. You can add this to a lot of different things as well as your smoothie. So I like to get these sort of like quick veggie options to go in. I also got some artichokes. So as an Italian, I really like artichokes, and maybe if you're not Italian, you like artichokes too. I cook these in the Instapot within like, I think 10 minutes, they're done. So artichokes are a really good source of vitamin A and zinc and folic acid, and as you see, it says antioxidant powerhouse. These are super, super tasty. These I will need to make just a little bit sooner because they start to, the outside leaves start to go bad. Okay, what other carbohydrates do I have in here? So, if I am trying to maybe lose a couple pounds, or I'm trying to even put on some muscle and I need calories and I need carbs, I love to snack on Sugar Snap peas, okay? I like to snack on baby carrots. And those are kind of like my two go-to veggie snacks. I also like to cut up red peppers. I don't have any of those right now. But some other things that I have in the fridge are kiwis, a grapefruit, okay? Grapefruit has a low glycemic index, so it's not gonna spike your blood sugar as much as, say, like bananas or papaya or watermelon. Grapefruit, apples, and berries have the lowest glycemic effect on your blood sugar. Okay. So one last vegetable that I really love are zucchinis and squash, okay? So if you cook down say you're vegetarian, or say you're trying to eat a little bit less meat, if you cook down your zucchini, you're gonna get this awesome like stew-like thick sort of consistency out of your zucchini. And what I like to do is put it in a pot with a little bit of water and spices, and it's actually going to like I said, make it into a stew, make it a little bit more hearty, like make it a little bit more tasty. So I always have zucchini on hand. It's great to put into soups. It's great to saute. I like to cut it up and slice it. I'll just eat it with hummus or guacamole. And yeah, I love zucchini. So I also have some onions in here. I have garlic. I have some ginger. Okay, what other carbohydrates do I have in here? Okay, so let's move on to some of the condiments and sauces and things like that. So a big source of hydration, potassium, and a mostly carbohydrate source is coconut water. So if you suffer from muscle cramps, or you don't necessarily like to drink water to hydrate, you can substitute some of your water content with coconut water. Now it is high in sugar. So this one has 10 grams of fat for every 8 ounces. But I really like this, especially if you're in warmer climates or have a hard time rehydrating, you suffer from muscle cramps. I'm actually gonna have some now. Delicious. Okay, so what else do I have in the fridge? I have some leftover olives. They're looking a little sad. I might have to just throw these out, but I had a little charcuterie plate the other night with some salami and cheese, and I had some leftover olives. So olives is a fat source, much like olive oil. It's monosaturated fat, I believe. I have to double check that. I have some cut up lemons. I like to add lemon juice to my water. I like to add lemon juice to my salads, and I actually do a face scrub with sugar, lemon juice, and honey. Lemon is good for brightening. I have some very hot salsa from my neighbor. She made some salsa the other day, and she said it was gonna be hotter today, so I can't wait to try this. I got this from Trader Joe's. It's a Calabrian hot pepper mix. My dad's side of the family is from Calabria, so when I saw this, I had to pick it up. This actually does not give my boyfriend heartburn, and like most of the other sauces, like hot sauces, do give him heartburn. So if you love spicy and you can't do the heartburn, you might want to try something like this. Let me tell you about a little bit of a fail that I had yesterday. I was having salad and I put some of this on it, and one of the salad leaves flung a piece of this into my eyeball, and it was painful. It was real painful. So I had to do like an eye rinse, kind of like what you have to do in chemistry class if you get like something in your eyeball. So that happened. I don't know about you guys, but Mrs. Renfro's hot sauce salsa is honestly the best brand that I've ever found. This is a ghost pepper salsa. It's really hot. I would mix this with something else, but Mrs. Renfro's is the shit. Anyone else try this? It's amazing. There's a mango one, there's a pineapple one, there's just a regular one. They're so tasty. You might want to just like check online and see if they have any more, or where you can find it rather. Okay, I have a little bit of creamer in here, or I have a creamer in here, and I use a little bit of it in my coffee in the morning. Now, I drink a lot of coffee, and I don't like my coffee black. I like it super light, which means that it's very easy for me to overdo it on creamers. It's very easy for me to overdo it on milk. It's very easy for me to overdo it on sugar. So I found some substitutes that are a little bit more macronutrient friendly, meaning not so high in sugar, not so high in carbs. So I'm not drinking all my calories in the morning before 9 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever it might be. So this one is 10 calories per tablespoon, and it says no carbs and no protein, just a little bit of fat. So this is what I have found that works for me. I've tried many different kinds, and I just wanted to find something that was lower calorie so I didn't have to worry about ingesting a ton of calories early in the morning just drinking my coffee. So I like nut pods. In the same breath, I also have found this milk, which is a protein almond and cashew milk. Makes really creamy, tasty coffee in the morning. It has protein and it also has some fat in it. So this is super tasty. Has anyone ever tried this before? This is awesome. If you haven't tried non-dairy milk, I am lactose, so everything is non-dairy for me except sometimes Parmesan cheese or if I'm eating out with friends. But I do recommend just picking up an almond milk or a cashew milk, just trying it. Just try something new. Dairy does tend to accumulate more mucus and create more of an inflammatory effect in the body. So especially milk has a lot of hormones from cows. So you just want to be aware of your consumption of dairy products in general. I'm not going to tell you not to have them, but just bring an awareness to your diet, to your foods around dairy. Okay, so that's what I got up top there. I have a container of white rice. I tend to make one in the beginning of the week, and then it's super easy for me to just toss it in a pan with either water or olive oil, and then I can throw in shrimp. I can throw in raw or cooked chicken. I can throw in chickpeas and beans if you're vegetarian, and then I can throw in a handful of veggies, and voila, within 10 minutes, I have a meal, right? I have a meal ready to go. So I like to make this on like Sundays or Mondays. I'll do it on either the crock pot or the Instapot. If you're someone that suffers from digestive issues, and when I say digestive issues, like maybe you're always burping after you eat. Maybe you always have gas after you eat. Maybe your stomach gets super big after you eat. Or maybe an acid reflux, or you get a headache, or you get lightheaded, or you feel nauseous, okay? These are all indicators that maybe something that you ate isn't sitting quite well. So sauerkraut really helped me heal my gut, my leaky gut, about 5-6 years ago. Incorporating this into my diet helped to reintroduce healthy bacteria into my stomach. So if I'm eating a particularly protein dense meal, or if I'm doing something that's a little bit more fatty, like a fattier meat, maybe like a sausage or something, I always like to keep some sauerkraut in the fridge. I kind of forgot about this until recently. We went camping like 2 months ago, and we went to this little market. And we picked up some bratwurst, and then we saw this. I think my boyfriend saw this, like, ooh, sauerkraut. I'm like, yeah, let's get that. Kind of forgot about it, so I was happy to be reintroduced to that. So in the same lines of pickled and fermented, you got pickles. Pickles. So if you're like, I'm not doing sauerkraut, I don't like cabbage, why do you think they serve pickles with burgers, right? Why do you think they serve pickles with sandwiches? They help with digestion because of the vinegar. Okay, so I've got some longer spears here, and then I got some baby dills here. So I like to kind of just snack, do charcuterie boards, so I will pull those out. Okay. Some other condiments that I have that I like to add to salads that add sustenance without having to go and cook shit. You can get these in jars, you can get these in cans. I've got some marinated artichokes. Okay, so you can get these in a can. They'll probably come in water, But if you do serve them out of a jar like this, just be aware that they are marinated in oil, okay? So you may not want to add extra olive oil or extra dressing. Kind of toss it up before you add dressing. Be like, is this enough dressing for me? You know, fats do carry a lot of calories. They are 9 calories per serving, or per gram rather. So be careful with the olive oils, the olives, the butter, the things like that. I have another jar of salsa. This was my intention to add a little bit of salsa to the habanero one before it got too spicy. Let's see. And I've got sweet relish. I like to add this to tuna salads. I'm not going to be adding it to today's tuna salad because we have a little bit of sweet in there already. What other condiments do I have in here? Obviously, I've got ketchup. I've got a barbecue sauce. I have this light mayonnaise that actually hurt my stomach for some reason. Now, because something is low fat or fat-free doesn't mean it's necessarily healthy, right? Oftentimes they need to substitute the fat that they take out with other things. So if you look at this mayonnaise, it's got like lots of ingredients, right? Whereas mayonnaise is kind of just like eggs and a few other ingredients. So I could find something with a lot less processed ingredients, full fat, have less of it, enjoy it more, right? Instead I went for this, kind of gave me a stomach ache. I'm gonna probably give it to my boyfriend so that he can take it to his house so it doesn't go to waste. I have a lot of different mustards. I use mustards instead of mayo in a lot of my salads. Salad dressings. I've got a stone ground, and today I'm going to be using a Dijon for our curried tuna salad. I have a peanut sauce. Okay. I have Worcestershire sauce that I put in my meatballs or steak seasoning. I have capers. Okay. I like to put these with fish or even in salads. I'll put this in a celery salad. I have some tasty homemade pesto that my boyfriend made. This is actually made with spinach, basil leaves, and lemon juice and some cheese. Super, super tasty. I have tahini sauce. If you like to make your own hummus, you can do tahini sauce, garbanzo beans, lemon, garlic. It's kind of a process. I used to be like, I'm gonna make my own hummus. It was like way too long. And it like took too much figuring out of like water and garlic. And so you can actually use this to make dressings. So you can just do like a tablespoon of this with some lemon, some garlic. You can add water and make it kind of runny. So tahini sauce is essentially just ground up sesame seeds. Okay. So last thing, not last thing, because we got a lot more to do, but last thing on the door is the coconut aminos. So I like to have this instead of soy sauce. It's soy-free seasoning made from coconuts. And it tastes the same exact way. There's really no difference. So if I personally, as a female, like to reduce the amount of soy that I have. And in general, I think people need to just pay attention to where their soy is coming from. Is it genetically modified? Is it super processed? The answer is probably yes. Okay, I also have tomato paste. This is awesome. Like, I will add this to vegetables with a little bit of water. Obviously, I put it in my regular red sauce. This can add a really depth of flavor, as well as anchovy paste. I know, weird shit, right? Anchovy paste. So again, you can add this to sauces. You can add this to dressings, like Caesar dressing. You can add this to, what was I saying? You can add this to pesto, even add a little bit of flavor. I have a little bit of butter in the fridge just in case I ever need it. I have some cocktails here. This is like a gin, seltzer, cucumber, ready to drink cocktail. I have a mango cart. I don't drink beer, but I had a sip of this one time. Have you guys ever had this? It's literally delicious. It is so tasty. I'm gonna take that to the beach today. Okay, some other things that I have. If you struggle with drinking water, I suggest you pick up some club soda, okay? If you like sparkling, pick up some club soda. These are actually flavored from Trader Joe's. This is pineapple. I also have 2 pineapples. One is I have a raspberry and a lemon one, okay? They make water not boring, okay? They're fizzy, they're flavored, and it kind of prevents you from drinking your calories from maybe like soda or juice or, you know, even coconut water. Coconut water packs a punch on the calories. I have some veggie broth that I like to add when I cook anything. Veggies, protein. It adds a depth of flavor, and you can use it in place of water to add a little bit of more flavor to stuff. I've got some sake in here. I like sushi, and we've been having a lot at home. So I have a bottle of sake, and then we have some red wine. Okay, I leave these on the bottom shelf so they're out of sight, and I am not, they are not plain in sight, so I am less likely to grab the wine and the cocktails if they're out of sight on the bottom shelf for me. Okay, so today we're going to the beach, so I just filled up a water bottle and I added some tea bags just to give me something different to drink at the beach instead of water. So this is a ginger turmeric tea bag and a green tea bag. If you feel like you need an afternoon pick-me-up and you don't want to keep drinking coffee, I really do like green tea. I've got some Almond Breeze. This is non-dairy milk from Trader Joe's. And then, so probiotic drinks. So probiotics help the healthy bacteria in your stomach flourish, okay? So you can either take probiotic tablets, some of them are refrigerated, some of them are not, or you can find drinks like this. Even kefir is good for adding probiotics back into your belly. I will alternate my probiotics. So I have this, I have one in the fridge somewhere. So this is almost out. I'll probably have the rest today. I recommend having your probiotics on an empty stomach so that they are they're quickly absorbed into your digestive system. Last thing that I wanted to show you guys in the fridge, my fridge is probably going to be happy that it's going to get closed, is a bouillon base. So it's kind of thick. So oftentimes things like this tend to have a lot of sodium in them and tend to have just like more preservatives. You can get bouillon that's more condensed. I love to make soups, okay? And I find that a lot of people just default to canned soups, and canned soups tend to have a lot of extra stuff in them, right? When it can be very simple for you to make things at home, like soups and stews and red sauces, just using basic stuff at home. So I like to grab bouillon. I have this and also the packaged one. I'll show you in my pantry. That is super easy and convenient to make sauces and soups without having to buy the canned products and kind of intake all those calories and all that sodium and all that fat that comes in preservative canned stuff. Okay, so guys, that's the fridge. That was a lot. I also have a big thing of water in here that I like to dispense from front and center. And yeah, that's it on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close the fridge, give it a little bit of a breather. I'm gonna prop you guys back up and we're gonna hit the freezer. I've got this little stand here. Sorry if that made you guys nauseous. I hope it did not. I suffer from motion sickness, so anything makes me nauseous, like a wuss. I have to wear those weird little bracelets when you go on boats and rides. Cool. Not taking Laura on a boat. Okay, to the fridge, to the freezer. So I love the freezer. Why? Because you can store stuff in here, proteins, carbs, fats, more like proteins, vegetables, fruits, for an extended period of time. It's kind of like my overflow slash when I run out of crap in my fridge, I go to my freezer. So I like to stock up on freezer stuff because if I ever run out of stuff in the fridge, I know that I have a safekeeping of protein and vegetables and fruits in the freezer. So what do we got here? So I have some ice cream. We got ice cream last night. Again, I'm non-dairy. This is the best non-dairy ice cream I found. Nada Moo. It's, you know, it's higher in calories if you are gonna eat the whole container. We are trying to not eat the whole pint. Obviously it's really hard because when you're just mindlessly eating in front of the TV and have just an open container in front of you, it's super easy to indulge in the whole thing. Let me put this on. Oh, that's not working. No worries. So we've got a chocolate peanut butter. It's super tasty. And a Rockiest Road. Honestly, this is bomb. So good. So in terms of veggies and fruits, I've got them on the top shelf, and then I've got the proteins on the bottom. Again, if any protein tends to leak or there's a puncture in the packaging, you want to keep it on the lower shelf so that if it drips, it's not going to drip down into other food. So some of my staples for frozen veggies are cauliflower rice, okay? This is the most quick and easy veggie that I have found that I can just toss in even with eggs. Like I'll just toss some of this in with eggs and cook it in the morning, and I got my veggie content for my breakfast. You can put it in soups. You can put it in stir fries. Soups actually might be a little bit harder because they're smaller pieces, but you can even like boil it and make cauliflower mash, or you can just eat it as is, as a side. Okay, so I also have chopped spinach. I'll just boil this and have it as a side. I also like to add chopped spinach. I'll cook it down and string the water out, and I'll add it to my meatballs to add a little bit of moisture and a little bit of a veggie punch to my meatballs. That's all the veggies I have in here for now. In terms of fruits, I like to keep frozen fruits because I like to add them to my smoothies. Sometimes I don't always manage to get through a ton of the fruits that I have in the fridge and they end up going bad. So I just like to stock up on the ones in the freezers. So I have a berry blend, okay? This is a great source of carbohydrates and energy pre or post workout. I've got some organic wild berries. I've got pineapple. I've got mango. More berries. All right, so those are all the fruits. And actually I have this stir fry veggie blend from Trader Joe's. Again, put this in a pan with a little bit of water. It's literally ready in 10 minutes, okay? And what I heard about veggies, I haven't actually researched this yet, but frozen veggies are actually fresher than fresh, right? Because as soon as they're picked, they're flash frozen. So they actually retain more of their vitamins and more of their minerals than say other, say fresh vegetables that have to actually travel to you and then they sit in the store and then they put them out. So don't discount frozen vegetables. I also like to grab peas. I've done frozen okra before, although it gets a little weird and slimy when you cook it down. What other frozen veggies are you guys using? If you want to drop them in there, let me know. Okay, so in the way of protein in the freezer, I don't know if you guys go to Trader Joe's or not, but obviously I'm a fan. Their food's not that expensive and you can get things that are organic for cheaper. So I really like these organic chicken and skinless chicken breast. I'll just put this in a pan with some olive oil, like a spray, and seasoning and cover it. And then it comes out so tender, so tasty, so juicy. It takes like 10-15 minutes to cook, but these are awesome. So you can do frozen chicken breasts, any brand. I have a second package in here. I've got frozen shrimp, okay? So you can toss frozen shrimp into a pan and just cook it. It just might be a little bit more rubbery. What you should do is, before you start cooking, just throw some shrimp in a bowl of water, or you can throw them under running water for like 10 minutes and then they defrost really well. I got fancy and I got some frozen scallops. These have been super tasty and they cook up really well. And at Trader Joe's, I also got some Dover sole, okay? It's kind of like it's almost like a flounder or a tilapia, but I like it a little bit more. More veggies. And then I do have some tilapia in the freezer. My friend Nancy just told me that it's a bottom feeding fish and that I shouldn't be eating it. but I'm gonna have to finish it. I don't wanna waste anything. Okay, so some other things that I have on my freezer. I have chocolate bars. So if you missed yesterday's nutrition lecture, I talked about ways to manage overeating and over drinking. And one of my first tips was to keep trigger foods out of sight, okay? So I used to keep these in the cabinet and I used to keep them in the fridge. But of course I would see them, and if I was hungry, I'd be like, oh, I'll just have a little piece of chocolate. One little piece turned into a half a bar, and before you know it, I've eaten almost 250 calories in like a little bar of chocolate, right? So I actually leave them in the freezer now, and I actually have to think about grabbing it because I'm actually craving chocolate versus seeing chocolate. So I don't know if any of you guys struggle with just kind of grabbing the first thing that you see, but keeping trigger foods out of sight and keeping healthier foods in sight, much like you saw in my fridge, is gonna help you actually make healthier choices if you are trying to stop overeating and over drinking. What else I have? I have some frozen pineapple. I have frozen maca powder. I have pieces of frozen ginger. So I was making some green smoothies for a period, and I just kind of scrubbed the outside of the ginger, cut it up, and I put it in the freezer to kind of keep it more preserved and not wilted. So this you can throw into a smoothie blender with a smoothie, or you can grate it if you're making something a little bit more like a pad thai or something a little bit more ethnic. You could grate that over some stir-fried veggies with a little bit of that peanut sauce that I have in the fridge. Okay, so I don't usually cook with regular flour. I try and stay a little bit away from gluten, although it hasn't been bothering me as much lately. But I like to use almond flour as a way for baking and substitute for regular flour. It has more fat in it than carbs, so it's more of like, I don't want to say keto because keto's like full fat, but it's more of like a higher fat type of flour. I also have some coconut chips in here. I like to add these to brownies or to yogurt or as a snack with some nuts. And then I have my coffee in the freezer. So I leave my coffee in the freezer to keep it nice and fresh. So that's all I got in the freezer. If you guys have any questions, drop them below. Okay, so I'm gonna take you to my alcohol cabinet, and there isn't really much to see in here, but the reason that I wanted to bring you guys was because yesterday, as I mentioned, one of my tips for stopping or managing your overeating, managing your overdrinking, is to keep things out of sight, okay? So I used to have my alcohol on this cabinet right here. Right up here, it's a nice little bar. Perfect, like super great setup, except I'd be like, well, have a vodka drink. I'll have this, I'll have that. So instead, I started putting the alcohol out of sight. And so I created a little alcohol cabinet up here. Okay, I've got cups, I've got the sodas, I've got some games. And now it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And personally for me, it's better to manage, okay? So if you find yourself that you're drinking a little bit more or a little too much at home, then you might wanna try putting your alcohol out of sight so that you are less inclined to drink it. Okay, moving along. There's so much going on here. So this is my little pantry cabinet next to the stove. I have some spices and some butters. I have ghee. This is clarified butter. It's super tasty. Bunch of spices. But what I wanted to show you guys up here is I have some of my trigger foods. So I love chocolate. I love almond butter. I love peanut butter. And it's super easy to overconsume. Peanut butter and almond butter, just 2 tablespoons is about 200 calories. I would rather eat more substantial food for 200 calories. That's gonna keep me a little bit more full. So I actually have these trigger foods in this cabinet that I don't open up as much. So this is my almond butter. It's crunchy, and these are chocolate chips. I love rice cakes with almond butter on it and chocolate chips. It's like an amazing snack. But I could have like 4 of them, right? But if I keep these out of sight, I kind of forget that they're there as snack items. So I kind of leave them to the back. I have some local honey. If you suffer from allergies, I have heard and studies have shown that having a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of local honey actually helps with allergies. So I have some raw honey here. I haven't been doing the tablespoons lately, but once my allergies do start to act up, I like to take some of this. Some other condiments that I have, I love balsamic vinegar, okay? It's great for like veggies, cheese, salads. I've got some sesame oil. I have a little bit more vegetable broth in there. Oh, we forgot to put the ice cream away. Can't be having that. A little water. So if you struggle with drinking water, make that shit fancy. In a wine glass with some lemon. You can add some mint to this. You can add some thyme. You can add some basil and just make it more tasty. Okay, so next to my stove, I have apple cider vinegar. If you suffer from digestive issues, eat pretty fatty or protein heavy meals, if you have acid reflux, if you're just looking to even have better bowel movements, less stomach cramps, I recommend having some apple cider vinegar in the morning and at night in water. Okay, so start with a teaspoon. Doesn't taste the best. Some people like it, some people don't. It's similar to the effects of the sauerkraut and the pickles that I was telling you guys about. So this is definitely a staple in my diet, morning and night. I haven't been doing it as often lately, but the reason I leave it out on the counter is so that I remember to do it, right? How many of you guys have vitamins that have been sitting in the cabinet that you forgot to take because they're in the cabinet, right? So do the same thing, pull those vitamins out, leave anything that you want to be consuming on a regular basis out. I have a oil spray, so it can be super easy to overdo it with the olive oil, right? So I like to keep this on hand. This is super easy to use. I have some leftover red wine, and I have some olive oil. Some other herbs and spices I have here. I've got a nutritional yeast, okay? So again, if you're non-dairy like me, nutritional yeast is kind of like a cheese substitute. It's got a lot of vitamins and minerals. So it's got thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6, folate, and vitamin B12. So this is actually pretty tasty. I'll put this on vegetables. You can put it in pesto. You can put it in your meatballs. Some other seasonings, ready to go seasonings that are 0 calories, but maybe a little bit more sodium. Bagel seasoning. I love this. Organic Bragg seasoning. I got the Old Bay, East Coast, what? I've got cayenne pepper. Some extra stuff in there. I've got turmeric. I've got oregano. I've got some Himalayan sea salt grinder. And I have these everyday seasonings. So these pre-made seasonings are just super convenient and easy instead of having to buy, you know, all different herbs and spices and figure out what combinations work. And also, these are great substitutes for sauces, right? Sauces add a lot of calories to foods, like barbecue sauce and the peanut sauce and ketchup and hot sauce. All those things add calories. So if you are trying to watch how much you're eating or trying to lose a couple pounds, I love having these on hand. Just makes it really easy to season stuff. Boom, boom, boom. And then you're on your way. All right, I'm shifting you guys over. So I have my coffee pot here. Don't worry about my inspiration here. Open these up for you. So I've got my coffee pot. I do a French press in the morning. I have been taking CBD in my coffee in the morning, just like a little quarter of it. It actually helps keep my mood just kind of level. I'm not super like jittery or have a ton of anxiety. Sometimes if I have a lot of work to do or a lot on my plate, I do tend to kind of have a little bit more stress. This actually keeps me super well balanced. And then at night, I'll take a little bit more before bed. It makes me sleep like a baby. I have some fruit on the counter. So remember, things that are more in sight, you're actually gonna eat more. So I have lemon, I have an orange, I have some bananas, and then I have spirulina. I don't know enough about spirulina to talk about it as much, excuse me, but spirulina has protein in it and a lot of antioxidant properties. And this particular brand, Biolumina, has really helped me kind of go to the bathroom a little bit more, have a little bit more energy, and again, kind of do what the CBD had done, is just keep me a little bit more level. Okay, so we're in my cabinet. The first thing that I open when I'm hungry, right? So as I mentioned yesterday, keep things in sight that you want to eat more of. Keep things out of sight that you want to eat less of. So I'm going to take you through my cabinet. So remember how I told you that I love my coffee, and I love a lot of it, and I love it light and sweet. So imagine having 3 cups of coffee with a tablespoon of sugar in them every morning. It's a lot of sugar in one sitting, right? And a lot of sort of like very quick acting simple sugar. So I found an alternative, which is monk fruit sweetener, which has been really tasty and really good for me in my coffees. It has some carbohydrates in it, but it just has a less of an effect on your glycemic index. So I can have a little bit more of it without feeling super guilty and ingesting a ton of calories. I have a protein supplement. So this is a vegan protein supplement. I have done a lot of research on non-dairy proteins. I like Vega 1. I like Garden of Life. There's also, I think Oh Yeah makes a non-dairy brand, but I like the macronutrients on this, meaning the proteins, the fats, and the carbohydrates. So protein shakes are kind of a staple in my diet. I have at least one per day. If I'm hungry or I'm having that mid-afternoon crash and I'm like, I would love some bread and cheese, or I would love like some rice and chicken, like I'm gonna get my protein in with this and maybe some fruit. It's gonna fill me up. It's thick, it's tasty. Maybe I'll add some dates to it as well. I have a prebiotic powder. So prebiotic versus probiotic. Prebiotic is like what gets the environment of your gut ready in order for the probiotic to flourish. So I add this in my protein powder as well. This is called Hyperbiotics, and I got that on Amazon. I also got this on Amazon and this on Amazon. Amazon rules my life. Okay, so your body stops producing collagen after the age of 30 for women. I don't know about men, but for women, collagen stops producing. So collagen are the proteins that help with hair growth, skin, nails, joint support. So I like to have a scoop of this in my protein as well. This one is kind of cool because you can mix it with hot foods as well. The other stuff you can't really do that with. So you can even put this in oatmeal. You can put this in like, I don't know, this says soup. I've never done that before, but I do recommend a collagen supplement. Vital Proteins is kind of the one that's kind of cornered the market, but this one I found off of a fitness professional that I follow. His name is Jade Tita, and he started Metabolic Human, and so I really like this collagen brand. I have some nuts and seeds in here in jars. So I have like sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds. I have some beans like lentils. I have some dates, which are a good instant source of sugar and energy. I'll have a couple of these in the morning before the gym. And then I just bought some polenta. So polenta is cornmeal. It's pretty big in Italian families. So if you're with the polenta, holler at me. So I used to just slice this up and bake it, but my boyfriend made this once for me and he actually cooked it down in a pan with I think some water and made it much more creamy and delicious. I've got some white rice, and then you'll notice I have a bag up here, okay? So in this bag, as one of my tips from yesterday, if there's foods that you tend to just mindlessly eat, snack on, and you don't want to overeat, put them out of sight. Even putting them in a plastic bag and not visually making that contact with it is going to make you less likely to grab and snack on it. So what do we think is in this bag? Any takers? We got chips. We got tortilla chips. They're super easy. You can just have a whole handful. I mean, I've got salsa in the fridge. I usually have guacamole. Great snack, right? Yeah, until you eat half a bag and you had like 500 calories in one sitting and you're still hungry. So I like to keep these in a bag so I don't overeat them. I have some brown rice pasta from Trader Joe's here. Still haven't made these. Brown rice and quinoa, yummy. Okay, some other things that I have in here. I have some flaxseed meal. Okay, flaxseed has a lot of great omegas in it. You can add this to oatmeal. You can add this to your smoothies. It's higher in fat content, but flax is shown to help carry estrogen out of your system. So for women, we tend to have an overabundance of estrogen during certain cycles of our period. So flaxseed actually helps move that estrogen out of your liver. I have some hemp seeds, also good and tasty in oatmeal. That is a antioxidant food powerhouse. I have some nuts. I have almonds and cashews. I have some ready to pop popcorn. So I like this better than regular popcorn, bagged popcorn, because I make it myself and I know what goes in it. I'll make this with some of the nutritional yeast, some of the cheese stuff that I told you guys about, or I'll grate some of the herbs and spices, like the ready to go herbs and spices that I had before that I showed you. Or you can make this more savory. You can add, or sweet, you can add some chocolate chips and some of the coconut shavings that I showed you guys. Okay, so if you're like me and you love your peanut butter and almond butter but don't want all the calories, PB2 is a powdered peanut butter and it does not have as many carbs or as much fat. So this is only 1.5 grams of fat per 2 tablespoons versus what, 24 grams of fat for 2 tablespoons of almond butter. It's got a little bit more carb and it has a little bit more protein. So if you're watching your fat intake, if you tend to overdo it on protein, on almond butter or peanut butter, try some of this. Again, I got it on Amazon. And then I've got oatmeal. Yum. I like this pre-workout or even post-workout. And then I have a protein bone broth. So I recommended one of my clients buy this brand of protein, but she got the pure flavor and it literally tastes like bone broth. It's like not tasty unless you're having it as a bone broth supplement. So bone broth helps to heal the gut lining. It helps boost your immune system. It helps just bring vital nutrients back into your body. So there's a lot of bone broth brands out there, and bone broth is kind of expensive. I kind of acquired this as a gift, so sometimes I'll do just like a scoop of this in hot water and I'll just sip on it as an afternoon snack. I know it sounds weird, but it's salty and I like salty stuff sometimes. Or you can just make your own bone broth, which is pretty simple. You could do it in a crock pot or an Instapot. You grab, go to the butcher and ask him if he has any leftover bones, especially ones with marrow. And you'll put them in the Instapot or the crock pot with, I believe, some apple cider vinegar. You can put some bay leaf or herbs and spices. And then you just let it cook. And then you strain it and then you can jar it, you can freeze it. But if you want to try a bone broth out before you go through all that trouble, they do have packaged bone broth. I know they have some at Trader Joe's in a box container, or you could do a powdered version. Okay, cool. So it's my cabinets. Up top, I have an Instapot, a crock pot, and a rice maker. So many things. I kind of acquired those, like they were kind of gifts. I want to show you guys over here that's kind of made my life a little bit easier, especially in the summer. I have a convection oven, okay? No one wants to turn on their oven in the middle of summer when it's super hot, okay? This is super easy. It has a bake and a broil option, and it doesn't let off that much heat. So I'll warm up tortillas in it. You can make quesadillas, you can bake chicken, you can bake fish, you can make all sorts of stuff in there. So if you are looking to make cooking and baking a little bit easier, you can try picking up a convection oven. If you don't want to pay full price for it, you can buy something off of like Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or Let Go. Just disinfect it, COVID times, right? And you've got yourself a new convection oven. Makes it a lot easier and simpler and more enjoyable to cook during the summer. And then I have a Ninja blender. It's a single serving cup, which makes cooking for one and blending for one super easy. So I just have this and I just make an individual smoothie instead of having a whole blender and then cleaning the whole thing. And it's just like a process, right? This is super easy. It's got the top, turn it upside down and blend it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So yeah, you might be wondering what these are. At the beginning of this year, my goal was to train to start doing some fitness modeling. So I wanted to find some inspiration for myself. And of course, COVID happened. So gyms closed and, you know, all sorts of things happened. But that kind of was put on hold. So, you know, sometimes I'll put inspiration up on my cabinets or around my house to kind of remind me what I'm working towards, remind me why I'm doing things, and to just, you know, be an accountability for myself a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna have a sip of water, and now we're gonna move on to making our recipe of curried tuna apple salad. Super tasty. Going to the beach today, so I'm actually gonna bring it with me. I'm gonna grab a sip of water, grab a pen and